Hi, I'm Mary Valamides, and I'm going to go over the kindergarten third 6 weeks math curriculum preview. For the third 6 weeks, you're going to start helping the kids recite numbers to 60. Then we're going to begin Unit 4, Geometry and Measurement. It will last for 18 days. It'll cover Modules 17, 18, and 19. In Module 17, 5 days before the holidays, the kids will be identifying polygons. The text specifically address triangles, squares, circles, and rectangles. So if we look at K.6a, these are the shapes that the kids do need to know. Now in K.6a, some ideas that you could use is have the kids identify these shapes in real world. Around December the 13th is a day that the students can walk around the school trying to find these shapes in the real world. They can also bring an item from home that matches these shapes, or a picture from home from a magazine that might have some of these shapes in it. Now, text K.6d says to identify attributes of two-dimensional shapes using informal and formal geometric language interchangeably. So these, if you'll notice with this particular handout, you'll notice that we have the name of the figure, what the picture would look like for that item, and then the possible informal language that's provided describing that figure. Then we're going to go into three-dimensional solids 7 days after the Thanksgiving holidays. So if you look at these manipulatives, you should have the 4 sets of wooden geomodel solids. There's a set of 6. You will not be using the triangular prism or the square pyramid for these activities, because those two are not really addressed in the text. As instead, you'll see we have cylinders, cones, spheres, and cubes. So the kids will be identifying these in the real world. So one idea is to have a bag full of solids, and the kids pull a solid, and you ask the kids to identify it. So where have you seen this solid in the classroom or in the school? If they pull a cylinder, it could be a soda can that it might relate to. Then K.6c says identify two-dimensional components of three-dimensional objects. So here you might show the students a 3D figure such as a cone, and point to the base where you have the circle, and have the students identify that shape. Then point to one face on a cube and have the students identify the shape, which would be a square. You can also use your geomodels that you have to place in a workstation where the kids are tracing the faces that they have on those shapes. And when you finish, you'll see that they have squares and rectangles and circles and triangles. K.6c is a really important one because it says to classify and sort a variety of regular and irregular 2- and 3-dimensional figures regardless of their orientation or size. So you can use real-life items, again like soda cans, cubes, or blocks, that you put into groups, and this is one of those items where if you have a regular triangle, an equilateral triangle, the kids will identify as a triangle. But if you have a right triangle, they may not identify it as a triangle. Or if that triangle is upside down, they might not really recognize it. So it doesn't matter what direction these geometric figures are put, it's still the same thing. And you can use yourself as an example. This is what I always do with my kids. I told them, I'm Mrs. Valamides. Whether I'm sitting, standing, touching my toes, I'm still Mrs. Valamides. And so these figures are the same no matter what the orientation. Some guiding questions for 3D figures would be, do the shapes roll? Which ones don't? How are they different? Can you point to the corners, which are vertices, the edges and faces, and what can you tell me about this shape, or what else do you notice, or where can we find these in the classroom or around the playground? So now with this particular slide, you're going to see that we have the two-dimensional shapes using informal and formal geometric language interchangeably. So we're going to identify those attributes of those 3D figures. Then, 5 days after the winter holidays, we're going to begin measurement module 19, and you'll cover K.7a and K.7b. So refer to the book for ideas and try to make these texts as hands-on as possible, where the kids can be weighing different things for their capacity and weight. They can also measure. Later they'll be measuring when they get older, but you can have the kids feel them and see which one's heavier, which one's lighter. You can do length by holding 2 objects up and discuss which one's longer and which one's shorter. And then capacity, decide which container can hold more, or the most, the least, and then fill one with water or rice and see if it fills the other container. There is a super source activity called balance of values that is attached to the SE, so you might use that activity with the kids. And there's another one that says how many can you hold, and this is where the kids get as many units as they can hold and they guess how many they're holding. Then after the 8 days after the holidays, you're going to begin modules 9 and 10. This is going to last for about 22 days, and it's part of Unit 5, Composing and Decomposing Numbers to 10. This is a really fun text because here you can do so many different activities. You can have those you could use it with the 2-sided counters. You can use it with a 10 frame. We're first going to start with a 5 frame, so you can use a 5 frame with the kids or just use half of a 10 frame. The kids can use the 2-sided color counters, and they can shake them in their hands and then put it on their desk and see the different combinations that they can make. It could be 1 and 4, 2 and 3, or even 0 plus 5. And here's an example of what I was just sharing. So you can use the 5 frame or you can use part of the 10 frame for this. Then after that, you're going to talk about composing and decomposing numbers to 10. And here's when the 10 frame really does come in handy that you could use with the kids. And have the kids try to make as many combinations of 10 as possible. Okay, when you compose, the students they're developing an understanding of the part-whole relationships as they recognize that sets of objects can be joined together to make a larger group. In addition, this objective asks students to realize that sets of objects can be joined together in multiple ways to compose a number, such as 5 plus 1 equals 6, 4 plus 2 equals 6, and 3 plus 3 equals 6. So here are some examples using problems with kids to see if they can get those terms. So if we have Bobby Bear has 3 red buttons and 3 blue buttons on his jacket, how many buttons does Bobby have on his jacket in all? The kids can act these problems out on their 10 frames. Then later we're going to talk about decomposing. So here the students are going to develop an understanding of a part-whole relationship as they recognize a set of objects of 5 can be broken into smaller subsets of 3 and 2, and still remain the total of 5. And here are some examples of word problems that you can use with the kids. And draw a picture. Have the kids draw all the pictures of their ideas possible to make that combination of 5. In kindergarten, students need ample experience breaking apart numbers and using the vocabulary and same amount as before the symbols plus and equal and equations 5 is equal to 3 plus 2 are introduced. Notice here we have the 5 and then the equal sign. Sometimes the kids get confused that means the same thing as 3 plus 2 equals 5. So you can use a balance if you want to with the kids to show that so they'll understand it very well. You can also put 10 pennies in a cup, shake them, pour them out, and sort the pennies by heads and tails. And that way the kids can make those combinations of 10. Another activity is the bowl game, where you choose a starting number between 4 and 10, and you count out that many objects. Then have your students close their eyes and hide some of those objects under the bowl. If the child has to count what's left to figure out how many objects there are, then that's okay. Or they can figure that out themselves by decomposing that number. This is the new vocabulary for this 6 weeks. Notice the purple words are the review from the last 6 weeks. And thank you for listening to the curriculum preview for kindergarten. Have a great day, and please contact me if you have any questions. Thank you. Bye.